Now, the first thing is, when you look at this, you need to, because we're doing it from a photo, we're not doing it from plans or elevations. So the first thing is to get rough dimensions of this space. So I'm going to look at her, and I'm going to guess she's about, she's got heels on. I'm going to guess she's about 1 meter 70, which puts about 2 meters up to about here. And then, this is going to be about another 2 meters, so that's going to be about 4 meters. So we're looking at about 6 meters is the height of the space. And then across here, that's going to be about, if she's lying down, like she probably comes to about here, it's going to be just under 2 meters wide. And the height of this door, if I imagine her, because she's walking in the middle of the space, so this is the bottom here. If I imagine her height's up to about here. So again, that's about 260, 270 at a guess in height. And then we'll come back to these. I mean, if I also imagine the distance of this, I'm going to say that's about 3.5 meters something. That's about 3 meters. That's about another 3.5 meters. So I'm going to start with a box here. And this is going to be one of my walls. And I'm just going to press G to get rid of the grid there. I'm going to press Alt W just to bring it so this window is covering my screen. And then I'm going to go here onto the modify box, and we're just going to look at the size of this, just get this wall roughly right. So the height, I said 6 meters. And then the width, I'm going to guess this wall is about 25 centimeters in width. And so the length, coming back to this again, I'm going to guess that's 3 meters, 3 meters, 3 meters, that's 3, 6, 9. And then this gap here is about 1 meter 50. So that's 9, that's 10.5, and then another 3 meters here. We're looking at 13.5 meters. So let's just come in here and set that in there. And then press Z just to zoom extents. And then what I want to do is I'm going to start splitting this up basically. I'm going to put one line in for here, one line in for here, one line in for there. So I'm going to divide this into 3. And I never know if it's length or width. Okay, length it is. There we go. And then I'm going to go top view. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to roughly cut this up. If I'm building from a CAD plan, I don't build this way. But because I'm not building from a CAD plan, because I'm building from a photo, and I'm just guessing everything, I don't have exact measurements, then I'm going to build this way. What I want to do, see there's light coming through here. So, and there's this wall. So we're going to cut these doorways in afterwards. But we're going to put this wall here first. So I'm just going to put an edit poly on top. Now we get into this. So these you create here through configure modifier sets. And if I just click on there, and then click on configure modifier sets. So here what you can do is you can take any of these. You can set this number to any. You can add buttons in if you want. I'm happy with the 8 for now. I'm sure that'll change around. And then you basically come around and you go, okay, well, what I want to do is I want a displacement modifier, and you just double click. Make sure you've got the one you want us to go into selected. Just double click and it'll change it over. So here I want edit poly. So I click on edit poly, double click, and it goes in there. And these are just ones I use, quite a lot. So that's why these ones are here. And then what you need to do is you can click OK. And if you do that, what's going to happen is you're not going to get this up here. So just make sure you click on there and click on Show Buttons. And if you click on Show Buttons, you've now configured it and you have the buttons there. And then you can just, instead of having to go into Modifier List, you can just add these directly. I'm going to come into Sub-Element Mode Edge. And now what I have here, okay, let's get some other things straight first. First of all, you should go to Customize Unit Setup. On here, I've got this set to millimeters. You can have it set to centimeters or meters, whatever you want. But I work in millimeters, and that's why the size of this box is what it is. Make sure you go into System Unit Setup already and set this unit. You can work in any of these, but your measurements then are going to be different to mine. But set this correct. I've got this set to millimeters 1, so it knows 1 unit is 1 millimeter. And if I'm working in centimeters, then this would be like that, and so on and so forth. But because I'm working in millimeters, I set all these measurements into millimeter sizes. So go into Edit Poly, go into Sub-Element Mode, and one other thing I was going to show you here, if you go Customize Preferences, I have this turned on here, Auto Window Crossing by Direction. And what this means is that I can come along and I can go from left to right, and I only get that one edge. And if I go this way, I get all the edges. So this is where it's, anything it's going over, I get. But this way, it's anything which it covers completely. Right to left equals crossing, left to right equals crossing. So, I find this helps on speeding up my modeling process. Now I'm going to chamfer this, and I want a wall which is again 250 mil thick. So I have to do this half of that, which is 125. And if I press OK, see, that's 250 across. Basically, it's chamfered that 125 that way and 125 this way. So I've got a 250 mil edge here. So that's that wall which is going to come out. That's that wall. And then we need this wall. And then this one doesn't have a wall. So we're going to chamfer this one as well. I'm just going to click here, and that'll do exactly the same. I can then just agree to that. And then I need to come onto this one, and I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to extrude those. And I'm going to come out 2 meters. Just click yes. Now, what I'm going to do next is, I reckon this is about 170, plus we've got this space here, plus we've got this wall here. So I'm going to say, if that's 170, I'm going to say that's about 30, so that's 230, and I'm going to say the depth of this is about another 30, so that's 230 plus 60, that's 290, so that's 2 meters 90 across. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a wall come here and a wall come there. So I need 2 more walls. But these are going to be narrower, yeah? That's the one which I'm saying is 25 centimeters across. I don't know it is, I'm just guessing. And this one here is about 10. And it's actually, I could just use this, but I'm going to have this wall come out a little bit. So I'm only going to have this come out 10 centimeters wide. And I'm going to have this as my outside wall. I need that kind of for mapping. So let's just come into edge mode again. I just press 2 to go into that. We're going to select this. So I'm going to chamfer this, but this time I'm going to chamfer it based on the amount of distance I think is here, and I'm guessing 1 meter 50. So half of 150 is 750. And so now this is, if I'll show you another thing I have on your snaps here. If I press S to turn on snaps, if you right click on this, go into options, and I always have enable axis constraints. I mean, I don't always. Sometimes I come in and turn this off, but by default I turn this on. And then by default my snaps, so I always turn those on to vertex. These I just left at default for now. Sometimes I change this. This is for the angle, and this is percent. But for now I'm just turning on this and going on snaps vertex. And see, if I press, so if I turn on snaps by pressing S, I can then bring this down to here. And you can see down at the bottom here, if you watch that move by 1.5 meters, this one here did. So if I bring that down, you see, 1.5 meters. So I'm going to leave that there, and then I'm going to select these two, and I'm going to chamfer these again. And I said 10, so that means I need to do this by 5 mil, and that'll be 10 mil on the chamfer. And then I can come here and go into polygon mode. So when I extruded these ones, what I did is I selected one, I pressed Control, and I selected the other, and then I did extrude. So I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to press this one, press Control, select the other one, and then extrude those. And I'm going to extrude those the same amount, 2 meters. And then I'm going to put a symmetry on here. I'm going to go top view. I'm going to press W. I go in top view by pressing T, and then normally when I press T, because it might be any sort of zoom in, I press Z to zoom to extents. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure I have my snap on. So if that's off, press S. And then I want to be snapping, I want to go into 1, into sub-object mode on this, and 1 on that is into the mirror, just where this mirror is. And then I can just take this edge. I can just snap it here, right? So basically what I can do is I can just take this mirror where it is, snap it here, and then I can decide exactly where I want this mirror. So earlier on I said 2 meters 90 across, so I want half of that. So that's 1,450. So if I take this and I move it, this is an x-axis here. So if I move this, if I press if I move it by 1,450, but I need to press this first, and this says, okay, this point here is 0. So now I'm going to go minus 1,450, and we've got that out there. Now the cool thing is this symmetry puts in this extra geometry here. It puts in this extra line, and you can, turn it off so it doesn't weld it. But then what happens is you end up with 2 of the items. You end up with just extra geometry in the scene, and I don't want that. So I'm going to press top again, and then Z to zoom, and then I'm going to put an edit poly modifier on top. So what I want to do is I'm going to go into vertex mode. Actually, I'm going to turn this off and turn off the symmetry. Come back here, go into vertex mode, and I'm going to select all of these, and I want this to be the outside wall. So I'm going to say there's this there's this light going on here. So I'm going to push that wall back another 3 meters. So I've got these selected, and I'm just going to go into the X, and I'm going to say, okay, move over 3 meters. Okay. And then what I want to do is I'm just pulling things around. So I just want to take these and take this one. And I'm going to move these back to where they were. So we're going to go minus 3 meters. And so here, that's the geometry we've got. I press F3 to go between wireframe mode and standard here. And then if I click symmetry on, it should be in the same place. Now, we don't have this back wall here, and I want that back wall. So I'm just going to turn that off. And because I forgot to put it in there in the first place, I'm just going to come in here into polygon mode, select this polygon, and I'm going to extrude this. And I'm going to extrude this 250 millimeters, just so it's the same as the other walls. And then I can take this one, and I can extrude that out 2000. And so far we've now got everything the same, and I'm going to do the same back here, just so this is the wall behind the camera, just so we block off extra light coming in from behind the camera. Otherwise we're going to have that open. I'm going to be putting an HDRI in here, so that's not going to work. So we extrude that 250 and take this one, and we're going to extrude that 2 meters. Okay. Alright, so this is coming together now. Symmetry on, F3. We've got our basic space together. We need to get some doors in, we need to get a ceiling and a floor in, and we're just going to be putting a basic texture on and throwing in some basic lighting just so we get so we have a space that we can work with. And we're going to need to chuck a camera in there too. I'm going to go top view. I'm actually going to come into subobject mode into vertex. Let me just turn this back on first. That lie is just if you can see it or not, and then now we know it's on. And just because I want to have the camera about here, and I can't be bothered to turn on clipping plane, so I'm just going to move this back, and I could just drag it. I'm going to end up with it back about here, but instead I'm just going to use this just to get it exact. And again, there's no reason to do this, but that's what I'm going to do, and I just move that back 3 meters. Okay. So let's throw these doorways in, and I'm going to throw these in before I put that symmetry on. Actually, I'm going to have to redo the edit poly if I do. So, because if I come back here and start working on the scene, basically these vertex will have different numbers that I moved, so I'll have to move those again. So I'm just going to come here, and I'm just going to right click and collapse to. Okay, I press F3. I'm going to press F3 and F4 just so I can see the geometry. Alright, let's go top view and Z. And I'm going to go into edge mode. Just come across here, select these, and this is for the doorway. So I just need to connect those. If I press F3, you can see this slightly better. You can just press connect, and as long as you have it on 1, that's correct. If it connects more lines, like 2 or 3, just click on this one instead, and then you can select how many you're going to be connecting there. Okay, so we've got that done. Okay, so this one here, and I'm not going to bother with one from here, because the light's coming this way, and there's also light coming through from the top up here. So, there will be some kind of light coming through here. There's going to be, in theory, like I don't see any interior lights here, but in theory there's something going on over there. And so there would be, people would need to see it. So there'll be some sort of lighting, probably more ceiling lights like this over there. bringing light into the space. So for now we're going to have this, and I'm just going to chamfer this, and I'm going to chamfer it about that. So that's 1 meter 30. Basically, if you go 650, realize that line's moved over 650, and it's moved 650 that way, so that's 130, so that's good. And then this one here, we're going to chamfer that too. And where are you? There we go. And this is probably, it needs to be narrower because the space is narrower. So if I make this 1 meter, I don't even think it's a meter, but I'm going to make it a meter. Actually, I'll make it 450, so that's 900. And then what we're going to do is go front view, just press G, get rid of that grid, just because I don't like it. If you like it, you can leave it in. And now I need to have a few extra things in. If you look here, I need to have the heights of these walls, and I need to get this window cut in there. And then also we're going to need to cut holes for these. So I'm just going to get a modifier list and put a slice plane on here. And then I'm going to press 1 to go in sub-object mode here. And I've gone into the slice pane here, and this allows me to move this without moving the geometry. If I'm not in sub-object mode, I try and move it, all the geometry moves. So here I'm just moving the slice plane itself. I'm going to undo that movement. I'm going to come up 270. Now this is interesting because that's actually moving on Z-axis, but because we're going front on, it thinks that's Y. So I'm just going to put this 2700. Let me just come back here. I'm going to go to 3. Let's move that up another 300 mil. Okay, so now that's exactly halfway. That's at 3 meters. Okay, well for now, I'm going to press F3 so I can see again. I'm going to press F4, put another edit poly modifier on. Okay, the problem is here, if I look at this wall doesn't come as far as this wall. And so I imagine this is all open here. And I'm not sure, there could be a ceiling here, but I imagine that there's this doorway, and then behind this, there's another doorway like that, or there's a wall and another window like this on the other side, behind this one. But I don't actually know, I'm just guessing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete out these edges. I want that edge to come right up to this, so I need that. So I know what I'm going to do. In the top view, I've got this already here into polygon mode. And here, we've got this weird geometry where I just pulled things. So we're just going to delete these. And I'm going to press Q because I don't want these things to move. See, Q here comes here into select object as opposed to this one, which it was on, which is select and move. So now I can select things without fear of anything moving. And I'm going to come into the bottom view. And just press V actually. V, bottom. And then I'm just using the middle mouse wheel here to roll out and in. And I'm going to press Control and select these. And these. And just come over here and select that. And that. That one. And that one. And I'm going to delete these out. And then I'm going to come in here onto 2. And just go top view. Sorry, I'm press 2, which is edge selection here. And I'm going to go top view. Oops. And I'm just going to select these ones. Actually, I'm going to, not that was on top view Z. I'm going to select these. And this. There are quicker ways of doing this. This is just a method I'm using. And I'm just going to connect that. And just do 1. So we should be seeing 4 edges there, and we can see those. So I'm going to click yes. And then what I want to do is I'm just going to line this up. I'm going to press W again, and I'm going to turn on the snaps. So I need to move this now, so I want to, I turned off snaps. Turn on snaps, just look at that, make sure it's on. And like I said here, by having enable access constraints on, actually, it stops it from, when I move it, from going on all different angles, and I can just come here and just move it on X and then snap to that one there. And I'm just going to do this one, snap this to the same one, and spin around. I press Alt and middle mouse wheel to spin around. Just like that, snap over there. Just double click on the left mouse button to select it, and by double clicking it selects goes down and gets both edges here. It gets everything that's connected. Alright. And now what I want to do, I'm going to cap that in a minute. I'm going to come top view again, and I'm going to stay in this edge mode. Actually, I'm not going to go top view, I'm just going to go like this. And this way I can just select two, because in top I would be selecting all the way down all of them. I don't really want to do that. So I've just got these two edges selected. It says two edges over here, and I can just bridge those. And I'm going to select these, and bridge. And I can select those. There's two there. If I press F3, you can see the second one. I'm going to bridge that, and bridge that, and this, and bridge, and this, and bridge, and that, and bridge, and that, and bridge. Okay, now we've got these covered, and then I can just press 3, which is this border one, press Control A, and the only ones there are these ones here. If you're not sure and you think you may have others, maybe other split geometry somewhere, you can just, always take this and move and just make sure that it's only selected those and something's not moving over here or somewhere else. And then I'm going to just right click and click cap. And those are now capped. Alright. And now by doing this I can do what I wanted to do in the first place. I can just go into 4, polygon mode, and I'm actually just going to delete these out. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with those, but I think for now I'm just going to delete them. Press 3, press Control A again. I've got these selected, just do cap on those. And then I'm just going to come one. I just want to make this clean, so I'm just going to take these two, and I'm just going to connect these. And I'm going to do that with all of them. Sometimes you select other, when you're doing this, other vertices. Sometimes you select other vertices behind which you can't see. So if you're not sure, you can always press F3 and just make sure you only get those, or you can check here and make sure it just says 2 and not 3 or 4 or anything. And I'm not bothering to zoom in, but if you do, you'll see those have been connected. Okay, so now my geometry is the way I want it. And what I need to do is just get this doorway going, get this a doorway here and a doorway over there. So I'm going to come in here again to edge mode and just double click on here, and it's going to go all the way around. And double click on this one, and that's going to go around. And then I'm going to click on chamfer. And you can get an idea where do you want it to be. Something like this. And if I move this up to 1,000, that would make it 2 meters. So that's about right. So it's 1,000 that way, 1,000 that way, that's 2 meters. Then I can come here into polygon mode and select this one, and that one, and this one. And again, when I'm moving, I'm pressing Alt and pushing down the middle mouse wheel just to move these around. And then I'm just going to weld these. I mean, not weld them, bridge them. Just click on bridge. And that's done. And now what you've got, though, is, there's the polygons underneath and a polygon above. So there's a bunch of polygons here. So there's not a bunch, there's 2. You can just delete those and delete those. But now, in doing this, it's kind of odd because you've created... There is now holes in the geometry here because this was, 2 polygons that you deleted. So if you click on 3, for example, and do Control A, you'll see these are red. So that's basically an open face. So what we're going to do is just click on 1, just go into vertex, do Control A, and you're not going to see this number change at all because this is, 252. We're not getting rid of or creating any new verts. But if you click weld, which is right here, then that'll weld those, and then we're going to chamfer this. So let's say 800. Oops, Control Z. And I think that's good. We can always move these afterwards if needed, but that's 1.60 meters. And then what we need to do is just select these ones down here and the ones around the back. Just press Control when you're selecting these. We basically need a bottom line down here, so we're just going to click on here, make sure that's on 1, say yes, look back at the photo again. I'm going to guess that's about 500, and this one up here is about 220. So this can come down, just snap that down to the bottom, and then move this up. This is on the Z-axis because I'm not front on. Just come up 500. And then here, I just want this, and that one, and yeah, let's come back down to 220. So to get this into the right place, I'm just going to bring this all the way down to the bottom. Don't worry about this because the geometry is overlapping, that's why we get this weird shading going on. And then that'll go as soon as we put this in the right place, so 220. And again, like I say, I can move that up higher later. And we're just going to come here, select this window, and bridge that. So I just have to do, so that's okay, we're just going to take this, and let's just left click, get that all the way around, just click chamfer, and let's do 1 meter 20, and then just left click here, and I'm going to chamfer this, I'm going to do this less, let's say 900 in total, so 450, just this is a smaller corridor. I know it's a small door, but for now that'll work. Just go into polygon mode. Just if you move it by accident, just do Control Z to undo that. And this one, and we're going to bridge those over. We don't have to actually worry about putting doors in here because you don't see any doors, so there's no point in doing extra work that you're not going to see. And weld those together. So we've got that doorway, we've got the windows, we're all good. So I'm going to go top view, and what I'm going to do is rename this to walls, and then I'm going to come in, click on standard primitives, click on plane, with snap enabled to making sure that's snapping to vertices. Just come along here, come near this, just so you can see that yellow cross, and that's snapping to that vert up there, and you can just drag this down to this one. And on the right click, and that's on the top, that's the roof, but the back face, we've got back faces here, that's why it's dark from the bottom. We're going to add in length and width segments later, because we're going to want to cut this up a bit for the floor. And I'm just going to turn this off, and this set at 6,000, just right click, and that's your floor. And then right click again, clone, copy, put the ceiling down, and then we're going to just bring this back up to 6,000. And I'm just going to, this is your angle snap, so make sure that's on, and if you right click here, remember this is your angle, 5 degrees, I can leave it there, but make sure that's on, and I can just spin this around 180. And then I can right click on this, object properties, and I can click on backface cull. And now I can see into the space, but the ceiling's there, you can see it through here. So ceiling's there, but it's not stopping me seeing what I'm doing. And this, we're going to rename this to floor. And if I press H, you can see the scene's fairly simple. We've got a ceiling, floor, and walls. And I'm just going to do Control A to select all of them. I'm going to bring my material editor up. And now I don't have V-Ray set as my render engine here, so we're just going to click on here, change this over to V-Ray. And I'm just going to grab a V-Ray material and just assign this. And just press T for top view, Z to zoom, come along, and I'm going to put in the camera. I'm using V-Ray 3.6, so we're using physical camera here. And just set the camera back about here and just drag through to about there. It kept glitching there because it's got snaps on still, so it's trying to snap to vertices. And then we want the camera selected and the target selected. And if we look at how high this camera is, it's not very high. It's, you know, in the middle of this one here, maybe just below the middle. And her legs are here, so it's like around her waist. And we can go lower, but I'm going to guess this is about 1 meter 20. So I can click here again, because I've got two things selected. If I had just that, I could do it. If I had just a target, I could select it, but with two, it's like, oh, I get a bit confused. So we're just going to click here, absolute, and now I can move them together. I'm just going to come up to 1200. We might change that in a bit. I'm going to click on this viewport down here, press C for camera, and that's what we're looking at.